Everybody, welcome back to another new and noteworthy mod review. Today we're going to take a look at the New Holland 258-260 roll bar rakes. But before that, this video is brought to you by UTB. Thank you for being a farm baron. So we're going old school with this particular video with the New Holland bar rake. We've got two variants. We've had the 258 and the 260, and the only change on those is if it's left or right discharge. Now you're going to be able to download these over at 46mods.itch.io. There is going to be a link to that down in the description below, in addition to a link to his Facebook page, so you can further follow his progress. Now this pack is quite interesting because it has not only the option of having a left rake or a right discharge rake, we also have the ability to pick up a rake hitch and a side rake hitch. And here we have the side rake hitch, and we can basically run two rakes side by side. We can have two rakes raking toward the middle. We can have two rakes raking to either side, should we so wish. And we can get that with a rear hitch, and we can also get rear hitches on the rakes themselves. So when we are transporting them down the road, they're all in a nice straight line. Or we have the 252 rake hitch, which is right here. And this is rather interesting because we can run it kind of directly behind each other in a straight pattern. And then when we get out to the field, we can kick the rear of the hitch back and then run two rakes kind of one behind each other but offset. So we can kind of double rake 2 rows to the left, 2 rows to the right if we have the same side discharge, or we could rake to the left and right and then bring those windrows together. Let's take a look at this whole pack in the shop. So if we're going to go to mods and DLCs, we have the New Holland Rollbar pack, and we have the Rollbar 258 and the Rollbar 260. There are some subtle variations between these two, but overall they are pretty much the same. We have a 40 horsepower requirement and a 3 meter working width. We can get it with the old design, New Holland 258. We can go with the new logos, or we can go with the even newer logos. We have attacher type of standard or toolbar. Now, nothing visually changes, but when you attach this to a tractor, you're either going to attach this to the hitch or to a toolbar that's going to connect to the lower arms of a 3-point attachment if you pick toolbar. And you do need to remember how you have your attacher type. In this video, I have all of the rakes set to standard and they all work. But if you set it to toolbar because of what the kind of tractor you are using, that's fine. But when it comes to hooking up the side-by-side rake hitch or the 252 rake hitch, you're going to need to know which attacher type you have selected for your rake. And then we have attachers where we can have standard with no rear attacher, or we can add a rear attacher, which is going to be crucial to running these in kind of a train down the road. Now, if we jump to the 260 roll bar, the only differences is in the logos. So under old, we have New Holland. And then under new, we have Rolabar. And then we have newer, we have a larger Rolabar. But again, this one is going to be a right discharge. And then the other one is going to be a left discharge. Then we have the 252 rake hitch. And this one we have design old. Again, it's going to just affect the logos here. New and then newer. And then we have standard hitch. Remember what I told you need to know if you are picking toolbar or standard. Well, we have standard here or we have toolbar. So you need to match the attacher type with the 252 rake, with the attacher type that you have on your rake. And then we have the double hitch rake, which is right here. It has no configuration options. You will need to use the standard hitch for this particular rake, and it has a center connector, and this is what you're going to use when you are driving them down the road. You're going to attach one rake to the center, and then the other rake to the rear of that other rake, so you can drive them down the road. Then when you get to the field, you're going to switch them and connect to the side connectors, and then you'll be able to run your rakes in parallel. So with that, let's see how all of this stuff works in the field. I've got it all set up right down the hill down here. We have 4 tractors and 4 rake configurations. First up, we have the 260, and it is going to be a right discharge. Now, the way you're going to work these things is, obviously, you're going to connect it. There is no PTO. This is all just mechanical driven. You see that there is a gearbox here, and the gearbox is going to translate the rotational energy of the wheels behind into the rotational energy of the bar. The way this works is we're going to have to hit V to lower the windrower, and now that we have lowered the windrower, we've basically engaged the gearbox. If we raise the windrower, the gearbox is disengaged, and then we're going to run down, and you see, pretty straightforward. We are kicking all of our grass to the right. 3 meter working width. Now, I, as a youth, used this plenty of time over the summers, and the way we had it, we had a little string hooked up to the lever that engaged the gearbox, and the string went up to the tractor, and we could pull that and engage the gearbox when we got out to the field. Now, when we were done with the rake, we had to get off the tractor and flip the gearbox in order to disengage it. But either way, we had a little string that would go from the gearbox, run up along the rake frame, and then it would connect up to a little eye hook that we had on the tractor, so we could just reach back and flip that to engage the gearbox. The little knobs there on the top, little handles, they govern the height of the bar, left and right. So you want to make sure that it is kind of just above the ground. You don't want the tines basically scraping on the ground and breaking off. And then we have the left discharge, the 258. I'm trying to think back as to if we had a left or right discharge, and honestly, I don't remember what we had. I feel like we had a 258. I feel like we had a left discharge, but again, I might be mistaken on that. There we have an in-cab look at this one. And you don't have to rake and then double back and rake the other end, but if you do, you end up basically raking a 6 meter working with windrow. You kind of get the point on that configuration, so let's just go ahead and jump over to the next, and that is going to be the side-by-side rakes. And here I have it set up in what you would call the road transport position, where we have all the rakes in a row. All the rakes have rear hitches on them, as you can see right there. And the easiest way I have found to connect these into a field work configuration is to do something like this. We're going to detach the rear rake. We're going to detach the next rake. And then we are going to be very careful, because anything with such a short distance from the hitch to the wheels can really whip around on you when you are trying to back it up and turn it. So we're going to connect up first rake here, like that, and then we are going to basically drive around and come at it from an angle and connect, and boom, there you go. Now we have our 2 rakes set up, but I've got them backwards. Oh my gosh, I've got them set up backwards. So now the one on the left is kicking to the left, the one on the right is kicking to the right. We need to change that around. So So pro tip, pay attention to which way you are connecting these darn things. So I want to have these so that they rake toward the middle. I want the left discharge on the right and the right discharge on the left. Okay, so the best way to hook them up is to get one. Come around and connect the other one from the side, because if you're trying to back up these things, oh, it's just a nightmare. Now we're cooking with fire. And we're going to lower one. We're going to toggle over to the other one. We're going to lower it. And you can see now we are raking toward the middle. This particular setup does not work so good if you have two rakes that discharge in the same direction, because there is a little bit of a gap between them, I have found. So this configuration works best if you are definitely raking towards the middle, so you are pulling in 3 meters on the left, 3 meters of product on the right. Turns can get a little interesting, because again, you are working with 3 attacher joints. They are all pivoting. Once you get lined up, it works pretty good. Let's see what this fine action looks like from in cab. We have the 258 and 260 here working in tandem. And then we have the 252 Rake hitch hooked up with the 260 and the 258. And we are in the road transport position here, where we have the rake, the hitch, and then the rake. And they are all lined up so they drive in a row. What we can do is left click and then left or right to swing that axle on the hitch. And now we are going to be raking kind of an interesting pattern, where we're going to rake. The rear one's going to rake to the left. The front one's going to rake to the right. So it's going to be splitting them. So let's go ahead and just turn that on and just show you how that looks. And since we do have full control with the left mouse button, we could bring this over and overlap if we were missing some. Product, but this is kind of a interesting setup where we're raking both to the opposite sides, or we can just flip that. And now we are raking to the middle. So the leading rake is raking to the right, the trailing rake is raking to the left. And we are kind of achieving the same general effect as we did with the 2 rakes being trailed behind, but we have it offset just a little bit. And then there's some other configurations, and I think I have the I want to go get the other rake set, because I think I have it set up to double side discharge the same side. So here we have it set up where we have 2 right discharge rakes working together. We're going to lower one, we're going to lower the other one. And you can see if we swing it way out to the side, there is the potential we could miss a little bit of product. In that case, we can just swing our tires back on our rake hitch, and therefore have a little bit more of an overlap if you do find that you are missing product. So here we are, we're double raking to the same direction, which is working fairly good for the most part. And in the end, we're going to end up with a 12-meter windrow, a massive windrow. Or if we swung this all the way over, we would be basically windrowing 2 3-meter working widths. don't know if we're getting the same general effect or not, but there you go, guys. That is the New Holland Rolabar rake set. It includes a pair of left and right discharge rakes. It includes the 252 rake hitch, which we are demonstrating right here, as well as the side-by-side rake hitch, which we demonstrated earlier. Let me know down in the comments below, as a youth, or maybe even still have you, or are you, using one of these rakes, or a pair of these rakes, or other types of bar rakes in your own real-life farming? And what do you think of kind of going back the old school with these types of rakes in a game? And until next time, happy farming.